Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And now, coming live from the Midwest Racks and Rod studio, it's the Outdoors Show with your hosts, Scott Biscobang, with special in-studio guest, Dick Munding from Munding Outdoors, and Jason Schrader, the branding hunter.
That's right.
You already know who I am.
And we got Drew Biscobang. That's for you, Luke. Luke's a little under the weather today, and Drew's managing us from behind the scenes here tonight, taking on that.
Where my face is best suited.
There it is, self-deprecation, as always.
Well, before we get into it too much, folks, we do have a couple messages from our partners. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Tagged and Bagged, Bucket Ready, Buckstik, and a whole lot more Stealth Outdoors. But we're going to start with Tagged and Bagged. Brought to you by Tagged and Bagged. Oh, my God, I'm cramping up. It just wouldn't be a normal show if there wouldn't be something with me back here. They specialize in pre-taxidermy packaging for waterfowl. Their mission is to provide hunters with the highest quality packaging products to ensure preservation of a hunter's prized trophy. Tagged and Bagged products are made with the best materials and are designed to withstand the toughest hunting conditions. Taggedandbagged.net. That is right, folks. Taggedandbagged.net. And Bucket Ready offers premium food plot. Say that.
Words is hard.
Really fast.
Words is hard.
Bucket Ready offers premium food plot seed for the best results when attracting wildlife to your property. Knowing what deer prefer, when they prefer it, and putting the best seed together for deer in your special hunting spot is what Bucket Ready Performance Food Plot Seed Mixtures is all about. BucketReady.com. I'm going to stop talking now.
You know it. Get on it.
Yeah, there it is.
I'll fill in for you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We've been on quite the hiatus for the last 4 weeks here or so. As some of you know or have been tuning in on some of our other episodes here recently, we've been dealing with a lot of family issues in terms of our mother, Drew and I's mother. She passed away just over three weeks ago. And so we've been trying to navigate things, and it's been a tough time for us for sure. My mom's health was failing for a while, but we definitely weren't quite ready for her to pass when she did. My brother and I stepped up in a quite major way and helping be there at the hospital with her father, and then of course things transitioned into in-home hospice and stuff and that. So it's just been really, really tough for us to even think about doing a show or anything these last 4 weeks. And we appreciate your guys' understanding. Like I said, as we navigate through this and through the grieving process and stuff, but we felt like it was time. Mom would want us to get back in the studio here. Yep. It feels good to be back. It's been a month, but it still feels foreign in a lot of ways. Like just getting back in here, I'm like, oh man, I haven't literally been in here in a month. And I'm like, things were still set up for the last show that we did. So I had to do a lot of rearranging and going through the system and doing updates and all these different things. It was a lot. And then on top of it, we have our own personal things going on in our lives outside of that as well. So again, we appreciate you guys hanging with us and being understanding as we've, like I said, navigated this hard time for us. So, but here we are. We're back. It feels good to be back in the seat. We're super excited to be joined once again by Jason Schrader. To my right, that's Jason. And to my left, if you guys remember, if you've been following for a long time, boy, what was it, maybe 4 years ago or so? This is Nick Munding from Munding Outdoors. The last time we had you on, that was in Studio One.
Yeah, and actually we were remote because me and my wife were actually at home.
Right.
And we did it remotely.
That's right.
With you guys.
Yeah, that was again Studio One. Chris was co-hosting at the time, and that. So you're long overdue for rejoining us and stuff. And as it is, you guys are part of the Buckstik team, one of our partners here with the Midwest Racks and Rods Outdoor Show. So we're going to get into a few things. I know we just recently did a show a few months back with Jason, and we got into the Buckstik stuff there. And there's some things that we didn't hit on that we're going to kind of cover a little bit in that. But it kind of coincides a little bit with what our topic is tonight, and that is just kind of like we're midsummer already, which is crazy. Like for me, like it wasn't until really like the 4th of July that it's really clicked that it's been summertime.
Yeah.
When you're locked down and in hospitals and all that kind of stuff, like, it's hot outside, but it's like that summertime mentality hasn't hit, like it did for some people already back in May,
Yeah. Not me. I look forward to fall.
Yeah, right. Fall. But just bring that a little bit closer to you there, Jason. Bring that in.
As soon as I see the corn hit knee high, I know I got work to do. So
well, right. And isn't that the case? Part of summertime is we know that the next season, it's hunting season.
Yep.
We've gone through winter, we've gone through spring, and now we're in the middle of summer here. We're just about 2 months away here in Wisconsin, just over, I would say maybe 9 to 10 weeks tops, and that'll fly by. No, actually, it would be less than that, wouldn't it?
September 12th.
Well, we're talking like 8.
September 12th, I think.
But that's going to be
12th.
so hot.
Right. I mean, if you're one of those guys that likes to get out there right away, we're getting close. We're definitely getting close, and I don't know about you guys, but I am way behind, and again, for obvious reasons.
That's an understatement.
So many things. I mean, even our turkey season kind of got cut a little bit short. We didn't get the turkey hunt as often as we would have liked. I mean, I only got out for a few days. Drew and I had to forego his first season. And then, of course, after that, the seasons after that, we weren't able to get out there either. But now it's like the wheels are starting to turn and the tide is shifting. It's like, all right, hunting season's
and it'll
just
keep
around the
your
corner.
mind on other things.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be out in nature is
The most healing.
it's very healing.
Right.
Exactly.
For sure.
So with that said, where are you guys at as in terms of you getting ready for the season and that? Nick's kind of chuckling over here. You guys were kind of talking a little bit before the show here because you guys share
We share a lease.
Lease. Like you have multiple leases and that in different properties and stuff, but one lease in particular you guys share together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we haven't even been out
I haven't
there.
even been out there once, honestly.
But my camera rolls a year round. I got
Yeah.
6 cameras rolling all over.
Yeah. 5 or 6 on that one property that I know.
But
of.
we need to get out there. And
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done any maintenance. I haven't looked at any stands, haven't trimmed any lanes, haven't cut any of the grass. I mean, the grass is so tall, even if a deer did walk by, I probably wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
In some areas.
Well, life
And the
gets in the way
ticks.
sometimes.
The ticks have been so bad this year. My God.
Yeah, that's what everybody's been saying. I personally, during turkey season, I didn't have any, although I treat my turkey hunting clothes with permethrin and that, but I haven't been walking out on the property since turkey season. So,
Yeah, but even during turkey season, it was warm. I mean, we had a unseasonably warm spring.
yeah,
So I mean, ticks were out that time.
Yeah, I know.
Surprisingly.
During turkey season, I had like 3 of them, 4 of them.
Right.
But just last weekend up by the farm, I went down the side of the cornfield to go check my place out there, and yeah, just nothing but wood ticks
yeah,
in the tall grass. But it ain't cut, I haven't
Right.
did any really prepping out there, but check my camera. And
yeah. I mean, that's a big, that is a big deal this year. I cannot believe the amount of posts I see from people talking about the ticks and how bad they are. And, I don't know if it's because of how mild of a winter we had.
Between
If
that and
that's
I
a
think
contributor. And then,
Springtime, how warm it was. That's
yeah,
another
it was
contributor.
warm spring and that they,
warm rain. It's
I mean,
nonstop.
yeah, we could talk about the rain forever. And here in the upper Midwest, I mean, that's no joke. Folks in Iowa and stuff like that have been absolutely just inundated with torrential flooding, from this constant rain. There's places in Illinois, all throughout the upper Midwest here. It's really a bad situation. I mean, there's places in Minnesota where that whole house fell into the river and where the whole shoreline collapsed by the
yeah, I've
dam
seen
and
that.
stuff, and
Yep.
just really tragic stuff. But yeah, it's been one of those weird years. Last year we were begging for a drop of rain.
I couldn't get a
if
single
anything,
food
if
plot to
you've
go.
got your food, if you were able, if your food plots weren't underwater, and like this would have been the year to that you're going to have good production from your food plots.
And that's what I've been telling Adam. I'm like, usually we would do our food plots in like now or August, and we
Sure.
have no rain, and they'd struggle to grow.
Oh
Not this year.
no, no, and right, it's from one extreme to the next.
Yeah,
For sure.
so weird.
And so what do you guys? So what are your plans here? What is your typical routine? Say this is outside of it right now. Like you guys are kind of indicated that you're a little behind. What would a typical season look like for you guys? Getting ready.
Our property is pretty much set up all the time.
Yeah.
Over the years now. So basically we just go out there, refresh the Bucksticks, even though they get hit year round. So we haven't really had to do that. But
I haven't had to
otherwise we
refresh
go out there to
mine,
make
but-
sure our stuff's still all there.
I check all my stands, check the straps
Yeah.
on stands, make
Yeah.
sure straps are secure, because I'll usually loosen them at the end of season, just
Right.
because you figure tree growth, last thing I want is to go up there, go to climb up and have one of my straps broken.
Plus,
Right.
we have a lot of squirrels
So,
that like to chew
yeah.
the straps, because I posted a picture of that tree stand that was off to the side of the tree. Because
Oh,
the
yeah.
straps were eating, and it was just hanging by that one
Yeah.
little strap.
But I'll usually, I'll loosen my straps, when I know that I'm done going out for the year. Early, I should have been out a month ago, but usually I'll go out, I'll check all my stands, make sure everything's prepped, all my stands are good. By that time, usually you got all the shrubbage and the greenage on the trees, so I'll start cutting lanes. Some areas the grass gets pretty tall. I'll go out with the mower and cut it all down.
You got the
plots and-
what now? Was that shrubbage?
Shrubbage,
Shrubage.
greenage.
That's what we
greenage.
call it, shrubage.
All the shrubbage. It's a Midwest thing.
Yeah, it must be our Lloyd Janesville thing or something.
Yeah, I guess. But I'll usually just make sure, the grass is down, because I got some areas that the grass gets pretty tall.
Yeah.
So we'll go out, we'll cut that early on. And usually if you cut it short enough, the previous couple of years, we haven't gotten a whole lot of rain. It's been hot enough. It usually kind of burns the grass down and keeps it from getting super tall again throughout the year.
Sure.
This year I didn't do it, and it's chest high in some areas. So a lot of prep work, just haven't had time to get out there. I started a new job this year, so the hours have been ridiculous.
Yeah. And you got a little one at home
Yeah,
too.
got
and,
a
like,
1-year-old. So that's been kind of tough, between work, spending time with the family, and still trying to find that time to get out there. And then the one day out of the week you have to go, it's 100 degrees outside. And
Or
it's
raining.
Like, I'm not going to go out there in this weather.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
It's miserable. Yeah, and I feel like that for myself and Drew and Mike on our leases that we have, Mike from the team, we typically like to get a lot of that work done right around turkey season. And that, like, we get our birds and that, and now it's like it's time to work on that stuff when things aren't thick, they're not hot, things aren't humid, the mosquitoes and stuff like that aren't bad. That's usually when we're, moving tree stands, putting up new tree stands, setting up extra cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys in terms of cameras. I think for the most part, we're all using cell cams. We're all using the Tacticams.
Right.
And we have been for years, as all of us are also team members with Tacticam. I still will move cameras.
Yeah.
Because I've got cameras out there that I've got out there even prior to turkey season, just to try to kind of pinpoint where they're roosting and that, and kind of narrow down their movements and stuff. But then after that, it's like, okay, now you're setting these cameras up out in places where, you don't want to touch then for, all summer long, basically through the season.
That's why I like my cameras out year round and with solar panels and never have to go bother them.
Right.
It's like, I know I got one of the cameras. We had a big tree. One of these last storms, a big tree came down across one of the main paths that the deer take that kind of goes from one property to the other. It's a main trail.
Yeah.
Well, now there's this huge, probably 5 foot around tree. They're not coming that way anymore. So my camera's been dead now for the last probably 6 weeks. I got to get out and move it, find where they're moving to and see what direction they're going now.
Yeah, the same situation 3 years ago in front of one of my cameras too. The landowner went out there, so all of a sudden I'm getting all these pictures. He's out there cutting it up and stuff.
At least he cut it up for you.
Right. I just assumed him just leave it at the same time, but it was also cutting off a main 4-wheel path and that too.
Yeah, my landowner don't do nothing. We need anything done out there, we got to do it ourselves.
Yeah, he ain't coming out of the house. He's like, no.
If you want it done, go do it yourself. And you don't care. We got free reign to pretty much do whatever we want out there.
Yeah, that's nice.
It is, but at the same time, it's like, this big tree would have been nice if he would have handled it, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how one big tree like that can just throw their pattern off a little bit in terms of what your camera's going to see. They're probably still moving through that same area.
Just
They're
a different route.
Yeah, just a slightly different route.
Yep.
But yeah, just the way the landscape changes from year to year in terms of you get storms that come through and that old dead trees fall down and things like that, where it's like, oh, you have these consistent patterns down and all of a sudden now, everything changes and stuff just from falling down trees and things like that. Like it can really adjust their patterns in a pretty big way.
Yeah.
How many cameras do you guys run out on that property there?
6, right? Well, plus
I've got 5. I think you have 6.
So there's a lot.
Yeah. How big of a property is that?
43 acres.
43
Yeah, that's a good amount of cameras.
There
for
is
that
not 1 acre of that property that we don't know where the deer are.
Yeah, or people.
Or people.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing.
We had
too.
a problem last year with a guy had a feeder
Oh, yeah.
like off from my stand, like one of them big feeders like we have in the deer farms.
And it was on our lease is the worst part about it. The property line actually goes up to the back of his house, and he had it about 25 feet onto our property line.
Yeah.
So
Didn't never knew.
there
I
was
wondering why I
food,
wasn't seeing deer like I was, all of a sudden that herd kind of slowed down coming by my area. And I'm like, well, what the hell? And then all of a sudden we found out there's a guy baiting right over from me.
Yeah.
So at least in that case, the property owner was cool because he went over and he nipped it right in the butt right then and there. That was no.
Well, we had a tree stand stolen and the following year.
Sure.
Previous year.
Previous year.
Yeah, previous year we had a tree stand stolen, a buckstick stolen, and then last year we seen that the guy had a
buckstick
feeder.
stolen? Really?
They stole the buckstick.
They stole my tree stand, the buckstick, and the camera.
Then they left the sticks. So we took the sticks down from the tree. We moved them over by another ladder stand that was out there and set them on the ground. We go out there a month later and the sticks are gone.
Yeah, the guy came back and took
He
all
came
my
back
sticks.
for the sticks.
I was like, oh.
Was it a matter of like him not like knowing what, like if it was that close, did he think that was his property or something?
He knows the property line because he's got no trespassing signs every 5 feet on every tree across his property.
On his.
Facing
okay.
my stand,
So-
he's got him right
Sure.
there.
I mean, I could I can understand, like there'd be a
knows.
discrepancy of not really knowing in that, and maybe thinking somebody's trespassing on his property.
He knew very well.
And that, but yeah, I just don't understand that. I never will, like the disrespect that some people have
Karma
for
will
other
get 'em.
people's property, and then messing with people's stuff, like stealing cameras and stuff.
Yep.
Like, are you a child? Like, have you not been taught, like, it's not yours, keep your hands off of it? Again, now if it was on his property or he thought it was on his property, that's a different story. But, what you're saying is that's not the case.
No, it was clearly on our side of the property line.
Yeah.
Why would you want to have any sort of argument or disagreement or animosity with a neighbor?
Well, and that's just it. I mean,
yeah,
if he
he
shoots
came
a deer,
over
it
and
comes
yelled
on
at
our
him.
property. Be cordial, be friendly. Sure, you want to come over, come get it. We're not hunting.
Right.
Go out, go get your deer. Or same thing with us. But in this case, I was out. I had a blind, 40, 50 yards from the property line. He's coming out and he's screaming and yelling and cussing. Here we go again. You're doing this. It's like, dude, I'm clearly on our property. You've got a tree stand another 100 yards down this way that's right on the fence, right on the property line. And it's okay for you.
Sure.
And you don't even bow hunt. You're a gun hunter.
Right.
Like we're within, so we hunt in Partyville. We have our leases in Partyville and we're right on the city limits. So we're inside the city limits. We're allowed to bow hunt, but we're not allowed to gun hunt.
Mm-hmm.
He's right outside the city limits. He's allowed to gun hunt.
Literally,
He
the
only gun
borderline
hunts.
determines that.
Is our property line is basically the city limits.
That's the cutoff. Okay, sure.
And the guy doesn't even bow hunt. I've never once seen him in 5 years of being out there. Never once seen him or anybody on his property bow hunting. He's strictly a gun hunter. We don't even go out there during gun season. Mm-hmm. So,
Because we're in the city, considered city,
and
so we can't gun
we
hunt.
were chasing one big buck. Was that last year or year before?
It was last year, 'cause he
it was because then he goes to one of the shops that's there in town and starts bragging about, I got them guys deer. I shot. Well, for one, it's not our deer. It's a
Right.
wild deer. It's not a high fence. It's whoever gets it. Good for you. But he tried, playing the childish game like, I know they've been chasing it, and I know they've been going after this deer, and I got him. It's like, congratulations,
Right,
for
good
you,
job.
buddy.
Right.
Awesome. At least somebody got him.
Yeah.
And truck
And it
didn't hit him
wasn't
down the
a
road.
car or truck that did it,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's childish games.
I mean, we hear about that stuff all the time. I mean, that it's I think it's always going to be a thing. It's very unfortunate that is the way it is. I do feel like in a lot of ways, there is a little bit of a shift that people are getting a little bit better in that.
Well,
We're
today's new
inundated with
cameras,
social media. Well, right. That's a big thing,
Like
right?
you ain't gonna steal my tact cams now because they're all on my GPS.
Right.
You know.
Well, and you're
the
gonna get
camera that they did take was before Tacticam had.
And it just happened to be that the batteries were dead in that camera, and we went out to go change the batteries because they had died out, and we didn't have a solar panel on that one because it's in the trees with the heavy cover.
And
you
we
couldn't
didn't
get
go
sun.
out there either since October, November.
Sure.
And that's the thing too. We have so many cameras out on this property, but there's some cameras that are up high in the crotch of a tree pointing at another camera, not even looking for the deer. I've got a couple cameras that are just pointed at another camera that's within reach to see if somebody comes out there to try and steal it.
Well, we had remember you had people picking on your stick one day.
Yeah.
Old people trying to figure out what it was.
What is this thing?
But they were trespassing.
Yeah, so it's not even, they don't even just attract deer, they attract humans too, apparently.
Right.
I got to pull up one of these days. I'm going to pull up this picture that Chris got on his trail camera. You think like I always think about this, and I want to make a meme out of it with this guy's picture.
Is it the one where the guy's trespassing with the tree stand and a deer?
No. This
his
was a guy that came up to one of Chris's cameras, and this was on public land.
Oh.
Right. And this guy's like missing like all of his front teeth in that.
Jeez.
And like you would think like this was set up. Like I almost didn't believe it at first. I'm like, Chris, where did you find this picture? And he's like, he showed me like, no, this is on my SD card or whatever. And the guy's flipping off the camera and smiling real big with his missing teeth. And he's got this big white beard and that the guy just looks like a crazy person in that. And he's flipping off the camera. And it's like, I'm every time I look at him, I'm like, was the guy like joking? Because he didn't mess with any of his stuff, or but but it's perfect. It's the perfect picture for creating some sort of trail camera hunting
Well,
meme
he had
kind
that
of
one
thing.
trail cam picture of that guy in his lease here in West Bend, out by Jensen Park out there, that had that tree stand and was dragging
Yeah.
a deer out
Right.
at like, what was it, like midnight or something like that?
Yeah.
It was a dark picture.
As long as I don't have anybody streaking on my cameras, I don't care. Because that's not a picture I want to look at.
Yeah, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Nobody needs to see that.
Once in a while, I get a couple farmers come past my cameras.
Streaking?
No, not streaking, but with their farm equipment. Drives me crazy a little bit.
Had that cougar a couple months ago.
Was she streaking?
No,
No, we were wishing.
no, unfortunately.
But yeah, other than that, we're all getting ready, and my camera's been rolling. Bucksticks have been out for 3-4 years, so I haven't really had to.
So what other kind of things, like this time of year? I mean, this is a tough time to be out
It's hot.
in the woods. It's muggy. Mosquitoes are at an all-time high. Ticks are bad.
Right.
You know, it's just everything's thick. It's really, honestly, a really bad time to be out on your properties.
That's why
in that.
we try to get everything done.
Sure.
Tried
But-
to get it done early, but this year just so much going on, didn't get a
Right.
chance. So I got a feeling here in the next week or two, get out, start cutting some stuff down, make some lanes,
Yeah.
cut some of the grass.
We're
move
in a
cameras.
huge travel point up there, so they're going to come through there whether or not we're there or not.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, they only got so many routes to take up there, kind of.
What are your guys' thoughts on, like you said, like mowing paths and things like that? Like, if you're doing it this time of the year, does that like freak you out about bumping deer off or anything
Not
like
really.
that?
No.
Is
I
that-
mean, because we don't necessarily have deer on our property that live there or bed there, so to speak. The
Right, they
bedding
go
grounds,
down in the swamp.
down by the
you're
swamp
kind of
over.
more of a
We're just a travel
a
corridor.
travel corridor.
Yeah.
From the
Okay.
food sources to the bedding, we're right
We're
in the
right in
middle.
the middle.
We're right in the middle. Of
Which is what makes it
Their
such a
only
great
food
property.
source too.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what makes it such a great property because everything passes right through our land.
Yeah, every time we drive out there, we see deer.
Now, do you guys have food plots on this piece?
Not well, kind of.
Kind of.
It was hard last year because it was sand.
And it was with no rain.
Yeah, no rain.
And the
so,
sun beating down, it kind of kills everything. But this year would have been probably a pretty good year.
Right.
I just haven't been out there. So
Sure.
we'll see. I'll try and get something in here in the next week or so and watch my luck. As soon as we get out there and plant something, the rain's going to be
Oh,
gone
yeah,
and it's not
it'll
gonna
go
rain
right to
no
drought
more.
then.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what I was.
I
telling,
can't tell you how many times that's been the case for me.
Yep.
Like,
That's what I was telling Adam too. I'm like, man, we should be doing it before that August drought comes, because otherwise, like last year,
if
my
there
stuff
is one, you know, who knows this year?
Yeah,
like,
that's true. You don't know what it's going to be.
Now you have some other properties and stuff like that, and there you do quite a bit with food plots and that, don't you?
Right.
And that, where are you guys at? Are you guys on pace or everything kind of?
Well, I
you a
tested
little
a new
behind this year,
seed this
too?
year up in Plainfield, and it grew super quick. Like within a week, it was up to or 2 weeks, it was almost up to my.
I mean,
knees
it's
already.
great growing
Right.
conditions.
But years before that, in that spot, I couldn't get anything to grow.
Sure.
But this year, we leased out a part of it to a potato farmer.
Okay.
So he's been like, keeping it watered and all that, and it really grew nice there. But that's basically my test site for the Buckstik and my irrigation system that I developed.
Sure.
So yeah, I got a lot of sandpoint irrigations on each one. So
Yeah, bring that mic in just a little bit closer to you.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the sand points. You've been kind of getting into that the last several years here. You know, like what kind of started that?
Brad taught me it right
Yeah,
away.
and Brad, who's Brad?
Brad is the owner of the deer farm that you see me post pictures with and fish with a lot.
Sure.
My mentor, my best friend, everything. But yeah.
And so then what? How did the sand point thing come about?
Oh, I just had a memory right there, but sorry. But yeah, we out on his big hunting properties and in a deer farm, that's what he uses, sand points. And I thought that was the most amazing thing. And the water's clean, clear, no chemicals, which, I don't like any chemicals within any of my hunting properties. That's why we never use synthetic products.
Sure.
Or any of that.
What are we talking in terms of, like, say somebody's like, all right, well, for those of you that don't know, and most of you probably do know what a sand point is or whatever.
A sand point irrigation.
Right. you're basically you're pounding down till you hit water in that. If somebody was wanting to do that, what kind of cost and how labor intensive is that to do? Let's say you wanted something like out by your food plot,
Right,
so
I
you're not
got 'em
having to bring, tanks of water, on ATVs and things like that, or
To me, it saved me all the time in the world because now my water holes, if they get low, which they haven't been lately, I can just go out there and crank it and puff it. But if the food plots need water, we can hook a pump right up to it and it'll pump the sprinkler systems out. That's how all of his properties are set up with sprinkler systems.
sure, from these sand points.
From the sand
and that.
points.
How far down do you typically have to get with them sand points to hit water?
It all depends.
Depends on the area?
Yeah, sometimes normally 10 feet only.
Really?
Yeah. And it's so nice because you never have to drag water out to your little water hole.
Right.
I told you I'd put one in for you.
I know.
I put in 4 already this year, and I'm not going to be putting 2 more up in Wapaka, Wisconsin for a couple.
Well, here's a question though. So,
It
like
cost-
in a year like this, right, where we've had a lot of water, and so my water holes are filled in that, which is really nice. That's like for me, like
Yep.
when it's raining, I'm like, well, you know what? At least my water holes are being
least
filled.
there's water in the
However,
holes.
I also have a swamp on my property though too, and if there's water. If I'm filled up there, that means the swamp is also a really good water source for them as well.
Exactly.
And the reason for the water holes for those dry years. But in order to keep that water in there, I'm having to lug water out there, and to do it in a way that's it's hard to get to. This one in particular is really, really difficult to get to.
Right.
Mike and I are literally carrying 5-gallon jugs of water to fill
my.
Sand point for sure.
I need a
This
sound
300.
effect on that one.
He'll ask me, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And I already know that I have plans.
You son of a gun. So it's very, very labor intensive, but that is what will continue to bring wild. I mean, they bring in everything in that, and I clean them every year in that every spring and stuff. Clean them out thoroughly. In fact, last year, it went completely bone dry, so I got this thing completely
All right.
cleaned out and that. But in wet years like this year, I guarantee there'll be frogs and and things like that living in there. And we have big branches and stuff, so if mice and things like that
can crawl out,
they can
not
get
die
out
and
and stuff.
contaminate the water.
And we do multiple because sometimes a deer will kick one in or something like that, or move it. So we do multiple different ones that. But occasionally you'll still get a dead mouse or something like that.
And
But
that's
deer will
why you
also drink out of a mud puddle too, on a ATV trail. So I guess I lost my train of thought as far as what we were going with there. So, I know. Wet year like we have this year. Now, if we tried to put a sand point in that, because the landowner near his house tried to put one in last year. He's got a giant pumpkin patch out behind his house, and he grows these 400-pound pumpkins and stuff. And
That's cool.
it's kind of like a hobby for him in that, and it's pretty cool. He does really good. He tried to put a sand point down there last year and could not hit water. I don't even remember how many feet he went down, but it was a lot, and he couldn't hit water. Now, last year was a very dry year. So let's say we did something like that this year, now further out in the property and that, near water holes and stuff. We might hit water at 10 feet,
Right.
like you're saying. But what does that mean for next year if next year it's a dry year or something like that?
I put mine
do you
in
have
during
to-
the drought. I put mine during the drought, and it's been out there all winter, all that, even with my pump on there. And I went out there not too long ago and started cranking clean water.
Right, but that's based on what the water table's at.
right.
you
And
know.
out there, plain from like the Dells to the playing field, them areas are super sandy, dry properties. So,
Yeah,
and
and
I've never had any problem, even up in other places that I put sand points in for people. I've always hit it within 8 to 10 feet.
wow.
Even at one place, I hit it at 5.
Jeez.
My
So,
concern,
I guess it all
I mean, you get what I'm
depends.
saying,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like my concern this year
I
would
find
be
it
like,
hard-
oh yeah, boom,
Sweet,
we
5
hit
feet, I
water.
got water,
You know,
next year it's
even 10
dry.
feet. But then next year it's
Right.
like, how would that work if that ended up being the case? Like, do you
I
just
think
you
once
just
you
go
hit,
and drill?
I think once you hit that water table, you're in.
You're in,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never had no issues. Like I thought I was not going to be able to pump any water this year from never going out there all year and all winter. I thought, oh, it was going to be junk, but it wasn't. I had 3 pumps and I had fresh water coming out.
Yeah.
So to me, I like to change that water system up there a lot.
Right.
Because any dead frogs, mice contaminate that water.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Jerome could prove that point. He's done many things about that. And yeah, you don't want that in there.
But I guess where he's at, I think what you're trying to figure out, say you hit it at 5 foot, if it does dry up, can you just add more pipe, pound it down a little farther and see if
Right.
you
You
find
just
another?
continuously add the piping and pound it down.
Because that's the only thing that has me worried out by us is sandy area. What's
I think
to say?
I'm going to hit it already at 10 feet.
Think
because
so?
we got the swamp and the 2 ponds.
And the lake's not but a quarter mile away.
Right.
So
So I think we're going to hit it.
All right, we have a lake.
Yeah, Buffalo Lake.
Yeah,
So, I
we're
mean,
right there
you
too.
would think the water table wouldn't be too deep by you then.
I don't understand why. I don't know if it was.
He may have thought he was down, but it really wasn't down.
I
You
don't
need
know.
3 pipes to get down,
I don't know.
3 extensions.
I wasn't there for it.
Right.
You know, like I just saw him that he was working on that, and then the next time I saw him, I'm like, well, what happened? You know, and he's like, could not hit water.
It's just crazy, man. But
So-
maybe I should go up there
Maybe.
and look.
The luck of Jason.
I don't know.
luck of
I don't know. I
Jason.
never had any.
Are you a lucky guy, Jason?
No, I'm not a lucky guy. No, I wish I'd be rich.
It's all relative, right?
Man, I'm getting all the sound effects tonight.
Congratulations.
But yeah,
So,
I think there's a great benefit to making a sand point. They're easy. They're only about $200, and you never have to carry 5-gallon buckets out of water.
well, we do like the water jugs, you know,
Yeah.
in that, and you carry 10 gallons at a time, and you just keep going back and forth, and it's, you know, you got to put some sweat equity into that into that thing.
I said I'm busy.
But I tell you what, man, these water holes, you get pictures of everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything visits these things. You'll get turkey vultures, you'll get hawks, you'll get the regular turkeys, you get raccoons, you get coyotes, you get squirrels,
Bobcats, ducks.
fisher. I've had fisher in that on camera coming down to it and
That would be
stuff.
cool.
It's amazing, and you get some really cool pictures, and it kind of becomes this community area, you know, where all all the
the
woodland
wildlife comes
creatures
to hang out.
and stuff, and they're all kind of like cool because they're like, I'll tell you, in some years past, some of the best, awesome like late summer pictures, you know, where you're at the end of August, getting into September, and the bucks for the most part are almost done, fully growing,
Right.
and it's hot, and I'll have bucks bedded down right alongside of it. They'll just lay down
Cool.
for, you know, an hour or so right next to it. Then they get up and get a drink, and they'll meander around. They come back, bed down right by it. It's the craziest thing. You know, that water is such a hot commodity in those really dry years.
Yeah.
You know, and
Oh,
if you
for
can keep
sure.
that water going, like you said, with a sand point like that, that's the way to go. So now, how does that work? Like you have, is it a continuous pump that you're doing where when it overflows, it's just going right back down into the
You
earth?
can set it
and-
up all different ways.
So how do you typically do it?
I just typically drop the poles in and then hook a pump system to it.
So you just
So
pump
that
it
you
then.
can twist that, pump it
But
up.
now you got to go out there
And then
though.
it spouts out right into my water hole.
Right, but now you got to go out there though.
Yeah.
And now you're leaving scent and things like that behind, right?
Yeah. Well, I wear my rubber boots.
Well, I understand. I understand.
I
but
know about
still, we
regular
know,
people,
like,
yeah, I know.
and you know this better than anybody.
And most of the time when I'm up in most of them areas, them boots I'm wearing at the deer farm all the time, just on purpose, and then I never wear them anywhere
Sure.
else.
I mean, yeah, there's
So
full
a
of all
lot of
sorts of
times,
deer.
like I hear it all the time from deer farmers. You know, when they go out to their hunting properties,
Wearing the same boots
wearing the
that
same
they
boots,
use
the
on the
deer will
farm.
actually
Sure.
come and follow them right up to their ladders.
Sure. Yeah, you're picking up that interdigital gland,
Yep.
and that's hitting your boots.
So
and
imagine
stuff, and,
being in a farm with
and
hundreds
the year
of
in,
deer.
and God knows what else.
Yeah,
You know,
no
the
kidding.
dander and stuff that's left behind in those farms for sure. Very cool. Yeah.
It is cool.
I guess we'll have to talk about that a little bit more. You know, maybe that's something we should think about doing out by us for those water holes, because it would be nice. What I would like
Even
to
if
do,
you had one in the middle of all your water holes, so you wouldn't have to travel so much.
I'd rather walk 25 feet with a 5-gallon bucket than all the way from the entrance all the way to the water hole.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
no, so I usually have to I lug a trailer out, but it's still like to where I'm gonna go, where I'm not gonna drive a vehicle there, and to be able to get to these, because a lot of these are in the woods,
Right.
that.
Right.
In valleys and stuff, you're talking well over 100 yards. You know,
Yeah, I'm
we're
good.
talking about 150
It's not
yards or
worth it.
so to get there. It's a workout. I mean, you are
and a bit of bushwhacking too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just like 100
no,
yards
it's not through a
flat,
clear
straight.
field. I mean, you're going through the thick of it for sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That's rough.
I mean, you could do it one at each site, but then you're talking, starts adding up. Like anything.
just
you
like
know.
anything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But if you put one out there in the middle of it all, you can run hoses off them things. You can run a pump to it, one of them gas pumps, and it'll pump the water wherever you want it.
Or they even have them electric ones. Just run a 12-volt battery and connect the pump system to it. Have a 3-way come out.
right.
Your-
I mean, that was
your
one of
main
the
hose.
things Mike
Yeah, like
and I
at
had
the deer
talked about.
farm, in the farm itself, the system's hooked up where once the water gets to a certain level, then the sand points know to fill it back up.
Sure. You got these big tanks, right? That you
yeah.
can buy, these big cube tanks and stuff. In fact, there's a place here locally at a recycling center that was selling them for $35 a piece. And I'm like, I asked, I said, do you know what was used in them? Like, was it for water storage or was there chemical in that? Because I'm not interested in it. Like, no, these were all used. That's what we were told, exclusively water in that. It's like, okay, well, how much should one of those things weigh full of water? And then now you got to have a trailer or something like that.
Right.
Like water weighs a lot. I mean, you're talking 5-gallon jugs of water, right? Those are about 50 pounds each.
Right, at least.
And
imagine a
so now
500
10
gallon
gallons, and how many gallons are these things?
What, 150, 200, or 500, whatever they are.
Yeah, I would say probably closer to at least 200, 300
At
gallons.
that point, build yourself a platform, get it about 10, 15 feet off the ground, cut a hole out of the top, leave it
collect
sticking, let
rainwater.
it collect rainwater, and have a little spigot
But
with a hose.
how much water are you going to collect in those dry years, though? Too.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
That's why.
Like if the pond's only collecting this
Right.
much, how much? Because Mike and I have talked about that. Like,
That's
how
exactly-
could we collect water like with a tarp system? Like where you can collect even more water, where you string tarps up and you kind of funnel it down into this some way. And then, but what if you get a storm? What's going to happen to those tarps? I mean, there's just all these different things. Like, how would you do it? Or if we only have to haul it out so far, how much hose do you need? Well, then how big of a pump, how many horsepower of a pump do you need to pump that water
That distance.
that distance?
Right.
Are you uphill? Are you downhill?
Right.
All these different things you have to take into consideration. And that's why it's like, oh, man, the sand point would be the way to go for sure.
Yeah. Especially if it works out there, that'd be a great investment on a property like that and not have to lug all them heavy water jugs out
Right.
all day.
I mean, we've done it with, even like 15 gallon, like the smaller 15, 20 gallon barrels and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you can't carry that.
Not
You
through
can't
a-
carry that.
Not through a
Like-
woods.
It's
like dragging a deer out of the woods. By the time
it's
you
just-
get
it's
there,
not
the
gonna-
water bucket's
Not
empty.
even, because, you're at least dragging the deer and the majority of the weight's on the ground.
right.
This is all just dead
And this
weight.
is water
Oh,
sloshing.
yeah, not even dead weight.
It's
It's like sluggish water,
Right.
sloshing water.
yeah, it's crazy. Well,
But other than that, yep, they're efficient, I would say, to have one.
if you can hit water.
You're right.
What's the deepest you can get with a sand point? Like, is there a limit? Is there a
No, there's no limit. Like I know people.
It's
that
just going to
went-
cost you that
Right.
much more in
For-
terms of the
right,
pipes
of the
to get
piping.
down.
Then the biggest thing is just personal strength. I mean, you get, some big,
Oh
huge
yeah,
guy
me and
to
Brad
pound
did
them
it.
in.
Got 2 old guys out there. Me and Brad did most of it.
Right. And it's basically you're doing it almost like with a fence post.
Yep, that's exactly what we use. We
you just
tried to rent one of them, and it did not work.
To like auger it.
No, we did the pounder,
Oh, okay.
automatic
Oh, like
pounder, and
the
it would
pneumatic
not
one?
get that through the sand.
Yeah.
So we had to do it by hand. Just
I mean-
to get it, we had to dig a little bit first because it's sand up there.
Oh, yeah.
and then it goes to
But everything
clay.
kind of caves in around
Right,
it then
and
too.
once we get right down past that clay, then you're right there in the water.
Sure.
But up in that area, it's all flatlands pretty much. It's not very hilly like it is here.
Well, I hear it's only going to be like 90 degrees on Monday. Do you want to go up?
Yeah. I was thinking about going to the property Sunday until he said it was going to be 90 degrees, and I'm like,
It's just too
Let's
much.
have some fun.
I'll watch you. I'll tell you how to do it. You do the pounding.
All right. Well, Drew, what are we at here?
We're at our halfway point. We're at about 46, 47 minutes.
All right.
So we are going to take a quick break. That being said, folks, we do want you to tune back in, not for our benefit, but for yours. We are going to have ourselves a little bit of a giveaway. So we're pretty excited about it. We want you to be excited about it too. So stay tuned, and we will be back.
Well, real quick, just to reiterate that though, we're not doing the giveaway tonight. It'll be for the next show, but we're going to announce the giveaway here and that. So
Yeah, so people got time to jump or, in.
Yep.
For
Exactly.
sure.
So
Otherwise, if we did it tonight, it doesn't give everybody a fair chance.
right, exactly. So and then we'll post about it again. So, but yeah, stick with us, guys. We'll be right back. See you in a minute.
What is an eponym? A person after whom a discovery, invention, or place is named or thought to be named. There are very few eponyms in the hunting industry. A product so popular and so functional, it becomes the act of the product. So how does something become an eponym? It's the best, hands down. What is an eponym? A person after...
All right, we are back. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Those of you that have, and those of you that have, hopefully you grabbed yourself a cocktail or a brewski on this wet Wednesday. It's a wet summer. If Luke was here, he'd say, "Well, it's cowboy summer," but that's a whole nother story. He really got into Yellowstone this year. He hadn't seen it previously. He started watching Yellowstone.
Binge watch.
And he's like, it's cowboy summer. He's drinking Coors Banquets on the regular now. And
Wearing chaps.
He's got the boots on and everything. It's cowboy summer for Luke. And Luke, we miss you. I wish you were here. He's feeling a little under the weather, and he's got a big family reunion coming up this weekend. And so we're like, you know what? Take the night off. Get yourself well so you can enjoy time with your family, because that's what's most important at the end of the day.
Yep.
You know,
Feel better, buddy.
friends and family. So we've been talking about summer prep, and we've been talking about lots of different things. Well, one of the things that we like to use, we like to use,
We want to make that.
we like to use as part of our, not just summer, but a year-round. It's a year-round communication system, and that is Buckstik. And as you guys kind of watched there a little bit, if you stuck with us through the intermission there, Nick's going to bring this little contraption we put together here last minute to kind of demonstrate some of our products here that we got. Buckstik. Jason, why don't we've done the show here before, so let's not we don't have to go overboard with it or whatever,
Right.
but let's give them the basics on Buckstik.
Right. The basics is the buckstick itself is designed at a certain height that it needs to be at a deer level. So we use 3 of the main pier glands that are used for deer communication, which would be your preorbital, your forehead, and your interdigital gland, which is from the hoof. We didn't know that, but so we got 3 stages set up on this buckstick for it. Up there, we like to put the preorbital up here, which is normal height. Forehead, obviously here.
Yeah, and this is just a little bit higher just because of the stand that it's on.
It's way,
Usually it sits about 6 inches lower.
Yeah.
You can see like from where you're at, usually about 6 inches lower in the ground. It's perfect height for the deer.
Yep.
So
Just
it's
like
like-
our logo, it's like head, you know. So I like to use it. I've been using it since day one. It came out 4 years ago when the original owner was still with us.
That was Chris,
And,
yeah.
and it's the only pure gland product out there. It's the glands are extracted from deer, live deer. It's not made in your mom's kitchen sink with all different kinds of chemicals and stuff. So
Really, and that's what kind of sets it apart, right? So this is a communication system, right? So what we're looking at here, this would be the buckstick, and then in front of me is the buck branch. Now it's just kind of sitting there vertically here,
Right.
But normally you would screw that into a tree, and then Nick, if you could maybe pull out the vine, just to kind of show them how the vine,
like how it would be tilted.
yeah, if you can,
Nothing over.
Which you want to set these at the angle and the height of the deer.
right. So a lot of people have been using vines, either natural vines that they find out on their properties. People have been using rope and things like that, hemp rope and stuff. Well, this has kind of got all of that kind of put into one. Yep. And so the original here is the buck stick, and that. So you have your your rope in that. You have these synthetic leaves. You have the hemp rope here attached. And then you also on the bottom here, which if you can, yeah. I'll pull it out here.
I jammed it in there.
Yeah, you did.
Because I thought you were going to bend it.
So, right, which it's very, very flexible.
Right.
And that these deer can bend this thing down to the ground. I mean, I'm putting a lot of force into this here. I mean, this is not going to.
And we got a lot of videos of the deer bending them and watching them snap back, and then
They'll grab onto, the hemp rope part, and you'll see them pull it, and then it just comes out of the bike.
Right, and it bounces back and
flings.
stuff. But it's a year-round communication system. Yep. And by using that preorbital gland, that forehead gland, and that interdigital gland, you're hitting the three different things that and now, obviously, white-tailed deer have many other glands, but those are the main three communication glands. So they're going to get their preorbital and even some forehead up on the top here by rubbing their eyes and their forehead up in the leaves and stuff. They're going to rub this just like they would a shrub or a bush or anything like that.
This actually collects the velvet and DNA here, so you can do DNA testing and all that stuff on your deer and your property.
And this is going to capture this better.
What I started using that for.
Sure.
Yeah, it'll catch the hair, the DNA.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to get the dander and stuff. It's going to stick to this better than just like a regular branch in that.
And like I said, I've had some out for 4 years now, the original ones, and never have to do anything with them, and they get hit all day, all night.
Sure.
I mean,
But what really sets us apart outside of the actual system, right? I mean, in the biggest part of the system is the glands, like you had mentioned, and it's using pure glands.
Right. What was the first question you asked me about it? Is there chemicals in it?
Right. So I've got one of the original one, actually two of them still out on the property. They've been beat up pretty bad. The original, I mean, they've changed the design quite a bit. It's beefed up a lot more, but deer still hit the original buckstick that's out there because
it's
of the
collecting.
fact that it's continuing to collect deer scent, those glands in that. And like you said, so my first question was, I was skeptical at first. I'm like, you got these plastic leaves in that.
The leaves are nothing because we can run them with just the rope and the vine.
Sure, absolutely.
It's more like for attention, but I see a lot of deer rub on all of it. So
absolutely, it's just another thing to collect scent on,
right?
While they're rubbing. But I was very skeptical at first. I was like, I don't know, Jason. Like, I'm not really buying into this a whole lot. I'm like, although you showed me the proof in the pictures and that,
I still didn't believe it
in the videos. Right, I still was a little skeptical.
But
because
before that, I've never used anything like this. I was a natural hunter. I would only go.
I understand exactly. You're not a big gimmick guy,
right?
Like you've never been into
a lot to get me to buy into this.
I agree.
Because I didn't want to put my reputation on it.
It took you a lot to get me into it as well. Because I was the same way. I was just as skeptical.
Because I was like, I don't like scents or any of that. Because
I'm like, we're talking about a fiberglass,
right?
Snow plow post, like snow plow marker.
But he knows.
Yeah.
We weren't even on at the least 15 minutes. We
didn't even leave.
Yeah,
and the deer had already hit it. And keep in mind too, so at this point in time on the lease that
bring
day,
that a little closer there. You're a little far away.
There we go. So the day that he got me turned on to it, I was just like you were. I was skeptical. I didn't believe it. I was like, dude, what's this fiberglass junk going to do? It ain't going to do nothing. Mm-hmm. So we put it in the most inconspicuous spot on the property, right in the middle of an open field.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I drove out onto the property at this time. I drove all the way out to where we were putting it, literally stopped, got out of the truck, we put it in the ground, sprayed it down, did what we were doing. By the time I got back to the front of the property, we talked to the property owner for 5 minutes.
Yeah, then
5 or 10 minutes. My phone goes off. Dude, you got to be kidding me. I show the phone to Jason. Like, I told you it works. The deer was already at the buckstick rubbing on it.
Sure.
And I got that a lot last year.
I drove the truck on the property right where we put it. Got back up there 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, the deer were already at the buckstick.
Okay, so
I heard that from a lot of Illinois guys that tested it out that I got into it. They were skeptical. They're the older guys, but I got convinced them, and they were just blown away about how many deer they were seeing. told me the same story he did. It barely got out to the truck already, and there was already deer on it.
Drew, what you got?
So we got a question here from Mike Mason, our good friend of the
Oh,
show.
hey, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Mike.
He asks, when you say communication, like marking territory or areas like feed areas and or bedding areas?
So when it comes to communication and that, there's a common misconception that rubs and scrapes and stuff like that, it's only a rut thing
Right.
in that.
This is a year-round.
This is deer use scrapes and rubs, and they're constantly leaving their gland scents as a way of communicating all year round. Fawns, does, bucks, it doesn't matter. All the deer do it. It's almost like a community phone thing or a message board. I would say that
It's like
would
a
be the best.
switchboard.
Right.
You know, it's a message board where they're all kind of, now they're not communicating in the same way, but like, oh, hey, you know, I just hooked up with Jane Doe the other day, and then
Way to go, John Doe.
she would, right.
A guy did ask me if he bought one, if it would attract women. For him, I said, I don't know.
That guy's got some other issues,
Yamahama, it's fright night.
but in terms of that's how deer communicate, and that is through glands. I mean, yes, there is vocalization and stuff with bleats and grunts and things like that, but their main way of communicating is leaving their scent, and it's about letting other deer know who's in the area. I mean, I don't think we fully comprehend or totally understand exactly what the communication is, but it's more or less letting people know. It's like a check-in.
Hey, I'm here.
Like, I'm here. I'm in this area, you know.
Yep.
And
even
I know-
if I'm passing through, I'm just like, I'm putting my initials on,
You're
on the
putting your
board.
tally on the board to
Like,
say that
hey,
you've been
I
here.
was here, you
Yep.
know, and they'll be able to differentiate, like, literally if it was today, yesterday, or several days ago. And then when they come back again, like I said, we can't fully comprehend exactly, you know, what they're 100% communicating, and how much do these glands change throughout the year in terms of hormone levels and that estrogen, testosterone, things like that. So, like I said, the misconception of that rubs and scrapes is a rut thing. Yes, you see a lot more scrapes being made in that.
There's just a lot more
as the
activity
rut.
during
Right.
the rut.
Exactly. Everything's kind of getting amped up in that. But it's not like they're just like the only communication is sight. They have, you know,
I wouldn't say it's a territorial thing either. I mean, because
No.
you'll have at one
only
point I've
during
had
the
5 or
rut.
6. Well, during the rut, I mean,
Because we have
everything's
bucks
territorial.
sleep by them, and I've seen other bucks go up and just
But
smash
I mean,
them.
I've got pictures of some, like one of my Bucksticks. I'll have 4 or 5 bucks at it all at the same time.
right.
You know, rubbing
Depending
on
upon
it.
the
So
year.
it's not like, I mean, as long as you're not during the rut, you'll have 4 or 5 at a time. They're back and forth playing with it and rubbing on it. And
Bachelors.
one will go off on his way and the other 2 will get in and do their thing and then he'll go the other way.
Sure.
Or you'll see 4 or 5 doe. Or I've had doe on it that, like, there's one out there this year that had 2 fawns and you see mom walk up to it and start rubbing on it and the doe are, you know, the 2 fawns are just playing and the next thing you know, the next 2 pictures are the fawns rubbing on it.
Right.
So it's
Just like that picture I posted the other day,
Yeah.
the buck teaching that fawn how to use that buck vine. That
Right.
I got so many pictures of it. It was
So-
amazing. With the doe standing like 20 feet staring at it. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
I would equate it very much as, like, let's say this was like a community cell phone or an iPad or something
That's
like that
how
out
I
there, right?
describe it.
It's out there, and the messages that they leave based on the glands scent, you know, that's a different story, you know,
Right.
based on the time of year. It's just like it's a check-in board.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's like this is where they're checking in. And they obviously they do this on natural trees and things like that too. However, what's different about this is that because you're starting it out by using these pure gland scents from real whitetails. Now, Jason, I don't know if you want to pull those up again. We said preorbital, forehead, and interdigital in that. And they're small bottles.
These bottles, why everybody says, oh, how come they're so small all the time? But this should last you your whole life.
Right.
It's pure glands.
Pure glands, never goes bad. And you only need one little spray, one I only ever activate mine once a year.
Right.
Unless, like right now, the one that's out in that open field with the 2 tree lines along the freeway, I had over $18 this week on it.
Sure.
And they're all on it right now as we're sitting here.
Right. I know
getting
you.
pictures, so
As soon
I'm
as you
like,
pull up, you're like, I'm getting notifications
and
on my
it's been-
cameras right
it's-
now.
It's all day, all night long.
So the question a lot of people have, well, how often do you have to refresh that with these scents?
Just depends
That-
on your deer herd.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it depends on the deer on the property. I've got
Like
two
a-
of them that are out. As soon as I put them out, I sprayed at that time. I haven't refreshed them yet.
Right.
And that was 3 years ago.
And normally you'll get the local deer, your local ones, hitting it every day.
Jason, why don't you real quick just demonstrate the
Well, here,
spots that you're going to do it
I'll
here?
give you the privilege to try it out.
Well,
But
I'm
you
not
wanna
going
be
to
wearing
open these.
But you want to be wearing gloves.
Right, and these are obviously
And
demonstration ones. We wouldn't be handling them with
you
the
wouldn't
bare
want to
hands.
be grabbing your stick and going like that.
Right.
Right. The only other one that I've had that I've ever had to refresh is I had one that was getting hit multiple times a day, and it ended up getting knocked over. So typically they don't get knocked over, but in this case, I had a couple big boys that were really going hard.
Well, it depends on your soil type too.
And
And
I'm
when you're in
saying
sandier
real
areas,
sandy area, like that one being knocked over.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't been out to the property yet this year, so it's still laying sideways.
I've had raccoons have a little
Yeah.
fun with them.
And when I get out there,
When mine was out, remember in Partyville,
Yeah.
they were still hitting it when it was on the ground.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then I remember up at a place I was testing up by a friend of mine, Joe, up in Birchwood, we only had the bottom part because one of the giant big bucks ripped it out. That's before we mastered out the lock system
right.
in the beginning of this.
Right.
And
It's
so there was a
evolved quite a
buck
bit.
walking around with this. This was like the first week it came out, right? And he's like, oh no. He felt bad. I'm like, oh no, it's kind of cool. But then we left just this part out, and we couldn't believe how many deer were still
hitting
coming up
that,
and just hitting that
Yeah.
from that gland.
But with that though, being that it was on the ground for the last 2 months,
Right.
I'll get it back in the ground. I'll spray each one once, and then we'll
Right.
probably not
Right.
spray it again for the
Some
rest of the time it's
people,
out.
some people in their minds feel they have to go and refresh them, which is okay. You can, as long as you don't overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is you don't want to overdo it. Like I said, that should last you 20 years.
Well, right. I mean, we're talking.
That's-
What is like? What are these? A half an ounce?
We have
Which
different
one?
sizes. I don't know what size.
I mean, the one that comes with it. Less is more, honestly, guys, because
Right.
you have to think about it too. Like,
Like me, I'll
if
take-
somebody took this and like just started dumping it, well, that's
It's
not
not
natural.
realistic.
That's not natural. I mean, the amount of gland scent that comes off, it's very, very minimal in that. So you don't have to hit them that hard.
Right, because they'll know right away. That's the
Right.
number one fault. A lot of people are doing that first because they thought, oh, they got to spray a lot.
Right,
But
they
you
gotta- I
don't.
get it.
Me, I'll
that's
hit
a
the
good spray,
Me,
too,
I hit the
so-
forehead
Right.
right here. I'll put it here, one spray right here, and that's it. And then the preorbital, I'll have my gloves on, and I'll collect all of these together, and I'll get it all in like 2 sprays to make sure I got these nice and covered.
And see, and that's where he's a
then
little
down-
bit different than me.
And down here, I'll squirt the interdigital like only like 2-3 times. That's it. Where a lot of people are like,
Yep.
I'm
And
like-
that's where me with mine, I'll do, because it's a pretty good spray. It fans out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll do one spray on one side, one spray on the other side on the top, one for the forehead on the center. Because if, you know, especially if that one, if you get real close to it, it'll kind of like puddle
Yeah,
up.
it kinda
and it'll
dribbles
just
in there.
trickle down.
Yeah, it'll just trickle down.
Ugh,
But you
trickle
wanna-
down. Jeez, can't get my words
which is
right
kind of
today.
natural.
Words is hard.
Which is kind of natural because when they're moving their heads up and
Right,
down, right?
sure.
So you don't want to be sitting there dousing it.
So I'll do one spray right up there, real close to it, so it puddles up, and then it just runs down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do one on one side, one on the other. Grab a stick and just kind of scrape the ground a little bit, walk away, and leave it.
Yeah, when I do it, I scrape the ground and then I give one interdigital spray,
all
and I
you
kind of go up high
Right.
and let it just
Yeah.
kind of
Miss down.
miss
yeah,
down
yeah.
in that end of that spot, and that's really all you need to do. Now, like, let's say you got a lot of heavy rain or something shortly thereafter, or whatever. Maybe you hit it again in a
Rain
couple
does
months.
not affect glands.
Typically, it does not. No, in that. But let's say you did it right before a heavy rain. You
I
know.
just did.
Did you?
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
didn't
No,
affect
no,
it
no.
at all,
You
and I
figure
can
all the
show you
rain we've
probably-
had this year, 2 of my sticks are still out there, and the deer are still hitting it.
Oh, sure,
religiously.
sure.
Right.
I mean, because you figure too, the glands is almost like an oily secretion.
Right.
You know, so the water
And it's
hits it, it just
soaking
kind of
in
repels it.
here, and all the other deer, it's getting in
Plus
there.
all the hair and all the DNA and everything else that's stuck.
So one of
in the fibers as well. So.
right,
Which
exactly.
you can't ever wash that away.
Right, the dander and all that.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the big things people ask, like, well, can I get more of this and that? Really, you don't need to, as long as you're not storing this in your hot truck and that.
And
If
I
you
keep it in a direct sunlight.
Keep it
Obviously,
in,
I'm not gonna
keep
put
it in
keep
a
mine
cool,
in my
dark
truck.
place, right?
Yeah.
Keep it in a cool, dark place.
Yeah.
In your kitchen cabinet, kind of, somewhere where it's not getting light and it's not getting overly hot or overly, it's not freezing or
I mean,
anything.
quite
like
honestly,
that.
I just keep it out of direct sunlight.
Right,
You
me too,
figure
because I have it in my truck all the time.
deer and us and humans are about the same, 90-some degrees.
Yeah, that's true.
However hot they are.
That's
so
true.
you figure it's right around 100 degrees normally anyway when it's in the animal's body.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't put it in the fridge. I don't put it.
If they're running a fever, that is.
Oh, maybe. But I mean, just normally just keep it out of direct sunlight. And
So
Buck
basically, the buck vine is a new design. It's kind of become one of my favorites. Besides, Buckstik will always be my favorite one because I get the most action out of that.
it's the
But
OG.
you're right. Same with dirt nap. It's the original, even though we got some really nice ones.
Still
out
the
there.
OG.
But the buck branch and the buck vine just came out in the last couple of years. Buck branch way before the vine, obviously, but we have great success and feedback on all of it. Like,
So just pull, if you can just turn it sideways there again, just to
a
kind of
similar
represent
three-way
like how it
gland
would
system.
go. It's exactly the same thing. You're just going to do your interdigital gland right on the ground below it. You're going to kind of
Right.
make a
Yeah.
bit of a mock scrape. Again, so this is, people, you have to take this and understand this 100%. This isn't something like, okay, I'm going to put this out at the beginning of October or mid-October, anything like that. No, this is something you have out all year round.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
mean,
No, you don't have
people
to.
use them in public land and they store them in them tubes that we send them out
Right.
every night, in and out. And we've had some people with like that Ohio guy, not the one that did the one thing, but we have another Ohio guy that shot just a super monster. I mean,
He was
remember them times?
huge.
And we get compliments and messages all the time about guys who use them on public land and carry them in and out every night because they don't want them stolen.
I mean, half of our talking at all the shows we do is just testimonials from customers.
Right. People that we didn't even know that had them.
We have. Oh, look at this deer that I shot.
When
over
we
the
did.
Buckstik.
We were in the Dells
Yeah, you were
for.
with
And
us
we
at that
sold
one,
out.
and
We sold out every show. Like
We sold out quick too. We were having to get local
vendors.
vendors
Yeah.
to bring more for us, and we're like, look, we'll ship you guys out more.
that's why I'm
Because
excited
we
for
were selling out so
Deer
quick.
Fest. I'm very excited for Deer Fest. This
Yeah,
year. I have
that's-
so
that-
many people messaging already.
Next weekend.
And
Yeah.
if I said, well, we're gonna have a limited supply.
So if you guys are in
but-
the Wisconsin area and Oshkosh particularly,
Yep.
for Deer Fest next weekend,
Yep, can't wait to
come
be with
see
all
us.
my family.
Come
this
see
is
us.
this is a great opportunity for you guys to purchase it in person and talk to these two guys. Unfortunately, I will be in Indiana that weekend. Probably one of the first Deer Fests I won't be around for in the last 10 years. However, if you're not in the area, buckstik.com is your place to go ahead and purchase either any one of these three. Obviously the Buckstik, like we said, it's the original in that it's been revamped. It's beefed up in astronomical ways compared to the original.
Yeah,
that first
every
came out,
year
the
we
original
made
prototype and that.
changes to make it better, and now we're at the point where we're totally happy with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, I can't remember the video that we were showing during the intermission, but I'm sure that one video in there with the buck branch attached to the tree and has this thing bent down to the ground.
Right.
And it just springs right back up. These deer are not snapping these. They're not breaking them. Occasionally they might tear a synthetic leaf or something like that, but they are incredibly durable.
Yeah, the only time they like to chew the leaves off is when you spray pre-orbital on them. That's why I tell people, try to keep it on the rope a little bit if you want to
Sure.
save your leaves, or keep it on the vine. I'll put a little puddle on the top of the vine up there because a lot of them use, rub their chins up there.
Would this work on any other species? We have a question here from
Every deer species we get pictures from, even moose.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all deer
Yeah,
species
all-
it would work with because they're all
They all
use
communicate
glands
with the
to
same
communicate.
basically. So yeah.
Even had
You
a
know.
turkey at the vine the other day.
I don't think
Crazy.
the turkey was leaving any glands.
No, but
I mean, there's even been pictures of bears playing with them. Not that they're really leaving glands and doing anything, but it's kind of a toy for the bear too.
right, raccoons sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Raccoons,
for sure,
bear.
raccoons.
There for a while, you had a couple raccoons
Oh, that
that
was
would not
driving me
leave your
crazy.
buckstick alone.
But they would bend it to the ground and they never got it down.
Right.
They'd have it all the way to the ground, but then the next day it'd still be standing and be like, okay, because it's mucky in there.
Right. I would say any deer species that out there is
We
going
get
to be
people
able
with
to.
mule deer pictures, blacktail, every species around the world now that they're getting out there. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And Mike, you need one, Mike Mason.
Absolutely. Anything else you guys want to touch on is in terms of buckstick and that,
It kind of speaks for itself. If you follow buckstick.com, you kind of
or follow on the social media sites? and stuff?
even on my own or whatever, you see it all. So.
Biggest thing I would say, like I said in the beginning, I was skeptical. I didn't think it'd work. I didn't believe it. It just, to me, I thought it was one more of those gimmicks that are out there to just kind of make you spend your money and
Pixie
hope
dust.
and pray it works, you know?
Right.
And
It's
I
not
mean,
a
it works.
curiosity product like
No,
all these
it's-
synthetic
it
ones
is
out there
an
where people
all-in-one.
think they're using them, but they're only a curiosity because of the
Right.
synthetic
It's synthetic.
chemicals. And,
But this is your all-in-one, like, mock scrape communication gland system, and it works.
yeah, it's a three-way system. So
You know, I could say that it works all day and every day, but until somebody actually sees it and happens themselves, just like myself, you could tell me it would work all day and I still wouldn't believe you. We put one out there and lo and behold, it works. You know, it's
well, he knows.
he
got the original cedar. With the cedar one that we tested out.
Right,
You're
yeah.
the only one that has that
Right.
one. I don't even have that.
And the other thing too, like the biggest thing that sets it apart from all the other companies that are out there is it is a full, like, original, like, pure gland that we have. It is not a synthetic, like you say, made in your mom's kitchen in her crock pot. This is like pure glands.
Well, there's
you know,
companies
are
out there that
extricated
give
from the
you
deer.
tubs this big. Now, why do you need that much?
Right.
And that's what people bring up to us at like the ATA and all that. And I'm like, because this is pure, this is extracted from like
Less is more.
live
Less
deer.
is more.
Right. And
You know,
deer
Once-
don't,
we gotta
once the
pull
deer
glands
start
from to
using
give
it-
you a gallon jug.
right. I tell people once the deer start using it, you should never have to go out there again.
Right.
Right.
Like I said, I haven't freshened up those originals ever.
Right.
You know, there's just no need to because now it's the deer in this community.
I still have his original, the first one we put on the property. You look at that thing now, I think there's one leaf, like one little branch thing of leaf left up top. There's one vine left on the top or little rope piece.
And that would be
And
4
then
years.
it
or
has
3
the,
years.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years because it was the first one, and that was one that you had on another property that were like, oh, let's try it out here. So this thing was already a year or so old when I
Right.
got
I
it.
brought that one from
Yeah.
Plainfield
So
down.
there was like everything's gone. There's one leaf, like one small piece like this of leaves left on it. All these are gone, and I still have like the hemp rope on the side, and they still hit it to this day.
Yeah.
So
And that's what I tell
thing.
people. It might be a little pricier, but it's going to last forever. And it's something that you leave out year round.
They're really not that pricey though.
they're really not
No.
that bad. But here's
Not at all when you think
one
about
of the other big things.
Just
I
what
like
you're
to
paying
put.
for, like the fact that you get the glands is the biggest.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
it's
That's the
almost
most
like-
That's
expensive
the
part of
expensive
it
part.
all.
But the big thing that I like about this too is there's one other product that's out there. I'm not going to say any names because I'm not one to put anybody down.
Right.
You got to cut a branch and put it in there. Well, what happens after a deer rubs on it for so long? You're going to lose everything.
Yeah. Just,
You know, that branch is going to eventually disintegrate. It's going to fall apart. There's going to be nothing left. Rub on this. I mean, especially the forehead gland and the, even the preorbital. 4 years before all my branches fell off. You think you're going to cut a tree branch and
that's
put it out
before
there
we
for 4
discovered
years?
a better company, too.
Right.
We just picked somebody, just to get something on there to make it look a little better and
But
stuff
still,
like that.
so you put the branch in, it's not going to last you 4 years. Now you got to start all over again because you lost all them glands and all that scent that was there.
Yeah. Every year you got to.
Every year you got to keep redoing it. Where this, you just leave it out there for year after year after year.
Sure.
You know,
And like I said, I get bucks all day, all night.
I know you
Now
do.
we are right now.
I've got them on my cameras too right
Yeah,
now.
so
It's
I
like,
keep hearing my phone ding, but I'm just leaving it
Right.
alone because I'm sure the deer are out there.
That's why I don't sleep ever.
so if somebody were to ask, like, where would be a good spot to put this on
Well,
a property?
over
and
the
that,
last 4 years, I've tested in the worst places. People like that one on the freeway. That's because somebody's skeptical, like you guys were, and like I was, and we put that on a freeway right on. It's like 100 yards. There's a little field there, and then it becomes the tree line, and then another tree line surrounds it. Yeah, so I've stuck it in places like that and had solid action.
right.
So,
But where would you recommend?
along field edges, 20,
Scrape
30
lines.
yards from your tree stand.
Yeah.
I've got a couple down scrape lines. Like you'll
Yeah,
see
I mean, we have-
basic lines where the deer are rubbing and
We have
scraping.
them all over, from
middle
food
of field.
plots
Yeah.
to in the woods,
Middle of an open field.
in the open fields.
And that's the one that I'm surprised they even go to.
Well, we
'cause
have
that
a
was-
couple members too, team members in other states that actually just have a pole and then the buck branch sticking off, and they're in the middle of fields.
Yeah, like a
nothing.
100-acre field.
Yeah.
Just a big open field.
They got
and they hit
bucks
it.
coming and steadily they're posting. So.
Sure.
So I can't really say what is the best spot. I guess if you know where the deer are, I would put it there and let it begin.
And how many would you say would be an appropriate amount to have on a property? You know,
We just had a
guess you-
ranch. We just had like some of these guys, they buy 10 to 16 of them and they like to make big street, Me, I put like 2, 3 in some areas, but some areas only have one.
All right, so like on let's say a 40-acre property.
Is it a wooded property? Is it an open property?
Yeah.
50,
Let's say,
Half and
let's say a third to 2/3.
I'd have
2/3
3.
fine.
That's
3,
like us.
4.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll do, if anything, if you're not seeing a lot of activity, I'll do a rub line with them. Put a couple branches out, put a couple sticks out, or even a vine. Do like a vine, a branch, 2 sticks. Do that down the rub line, and then I'll put one in just an inconspicuous area in front of my tree stand. Just because, like especially if they're out there during the day and they start rubbing on it, well, now you got that deer that just stopped in front of you within shooting distance for 2
That's
to
how I
5
got-
minutes playing with it. There's your shot.
So I got my last probably
Bubbles.
8 deer, 6 deer for sure,
Yeah.
right on the stick.
Right.
Sometimes I let them walk away because I feel bad. But
Yeah, mine last year was right on the Buckstik.
Sure.
So,
'Cause
and
I'm still like a guy who would just naturally deer hunt, bow hunt, But I do like watching them use this. Like last year in Illinois, I had one that was way taller than it, and then it's a rack. I was like, he was destroying it. So
I can't tell you how many times I just sat in my stand and
Right.
watched him hit it. Never even grabbed my bow. Just sat there and just
right,
watched.
it's exciting
I
just
grabbed my
watching
phone.
a different or
I
deer
shot it
fight
with my
over.
phone instead of my bow. Just watching it
Sure.
because it's every time we're out there, there's plenty of deer. So
But so for me to say, oh, this spot would be the best spot, I couldn't say it
can't.
because no matter where anybody has told me to put one for them,
It's worked.
it's worked.
It
So
becomes
and then it becomes to start drawing deer.
Somewhat attractive.
Like we
I mean,
hear
I
a
guess
lot-
if you're starting out or whatever with one, if it's somewhat of a main
close to
corridor or
yeah, in
something
between
like
the
that,
bedding and the
where-
feeding, because that's where we are.
Sure.
All of them, all the properties I hunt are all in between feeding.
if you got a
and
main
bedding.
path somewhere and there's no branches for them to rub, stick it somewhere along the trail, just off the trail, obviously,
Right.
but stick it close to it. They'll find it.
Sure.
Yep.
Or
It's weird.
if
They
you got the
find
rub
it.
line,
Well,
put it
know.
across that way on the other side.
I know.
from there.
I'm
Right.
playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Guys, if this is something you're interested in and you want a chance to win either a buck stick or the buck branch, that's this one right here. Nick, if you could pull that up there real quick. That's that guy right there. Yeah, they send their name. So that's the buck branch. And there's a mounting system where you screw it into a tree and you can
So you can adjust the angle perfectly.
yeah,
on it.
exactly the way you want it, the height and stuff like that, or the buck stick here that stakes down into the ground.
This one's more mobile. That's why we designed this one for like public hunters and stuff like that.
As long as you
Where
use
that
gloves
one's a
and
more
stuff.
permanent one. one.
Permanent.
But me,
Permanent.
sorry.
Permanent.
What's that? Words today? Words.
Words is hard.
Yeah, words is hard.
I almost was in a double train of thought there for a minute.
The twisted tea's got you twisted.
Yeah, I don't even drink, and
No, I like with the Buckstik itself. It's one of those things you can kind of put it up more of in an open area where you don't really have somewhere to screw.
right.
The
That was the
system in.
advantage why we came up with this for people who can't screw into their trees. Like
don't
we're
have
not
the tree
allowed to put
lines and-
screws in any
Right,
of the
on
trees.
public land, right? Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So this is more of a mobile, more useful one. I feel
Yeah,
this is more of a
more of a permanent kind of setup.
kind of You can take it in and out because you could buy several connectors and put them in several areas
Sure.
too.
And just move it around.
Right. I guess it's all up to the person.
Right.
Me, I leave them out. I don't touch them.
Well, guys, if you're interested in either one of these two products here, and you guys want a chance to win this, we're putting together a really cool giveaway here with Buckstik. That's going to be coming up on our next episode. The rules and how to get entered into the drawing will be posted in the next few days here. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following the page. We'll have multiple reminders and stuff about it. But what the giveaway is going to be is you get your choice of either the Buckstik, the original OG, or the Buck Branch. We're not doing the Buck Vine on this one just because there's somewhat of a little bit tighter supply on the vine in that.
We
That
get
one's a
such a-
much more
right now.
limited quantity than the
Yeah.
other.
Exactly. But either the Buck Branch or the Buckstik. We're also going to be giving away with that a Buckstik hat, Buckstik t-shirt, and a decal from Buckstik as well. So Jason and I are both sporting some of the hats that they have. You didn't bring that other hat up here, did you?
I thought I did, but I must
That's
not.
okay.
We're going to have a hat,
Yeah,
t-shirt.
there'll be a hat, t-shirt, decal, and your choice of either the Buck Branch or the Buckstik.
And yes,
So-
it will come with the glands.
Yes.
All 3 glands for
Yeah,
sure.
the
Each
full
kit,
kit.
each one always comes with the 3 glands, no matter which one you buy.
Yeah, your full kit. So stay tuned for that, guys. That's going to be a really cool giveaway. Whoever wins that's really going to be pretty stoked.
Yeah.
For sure. That's quite the
That's
package.
gonna be an awesome giveaway.
So,
That's a good package giveaway on that one.
I would like it too.
so one of the things we obviously want you to do is to subscribe to our YouTube page for sure.
Yep.
That's going to be one of the rules, and Drew just popped that up there on the screen. Make sure you guys are following along on YouTube. That will be one of the criteria. We'll get into the rest. It's not going to be anything crazy.
No,
where you got
I'm
to do this,
keeping it-
that, and everything else.
Right.
We'll
Simple
keep
is
it pretty
better.
simple in that.
this, like
but
that,
basically,
post
what
this,
we're going
post
to want is for you guys to follow Buckstik and like Buckstik on their social media sites, as well as following us on all 3 of our sites as well too. So, stay tuned for that, guys, and we'll get that stuff out to you. Drew, we got anything else?
I can't wait to see everybody at Deer Fest this year.
Yeah, make sure
I'm
you come out and see
excited.
us. We
Yeah.
will have a promotion going on too. Can't really say exactly what it is
Right.
yet, but
We're going to do something.
we'll have some sales. We'll have some stuff going on, but come check us out.
Yeah.
Sale?
Like I said, we only got a limited supply again, and we've been selling out fast. So
Oh, it was crazy at the Dells this year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we sold out
we had
fast
people
and
waiting along
furious.
along the
Yeah.
wall for hours
Fast
for Stu
and
to get up there.
furious.
Yeah, I think there was 7 or 8 people that were waiting because we had to wait for one of the vendors to come in from north of where we were, actually out by Partyville, because
Yeah.
his store is in Partyville.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to bring the remaining of his supply. And as soon as he showed up with them, it was like a herd of vultures
Yeah.
right at the booth, and they were just gone.
Yeah, it was cool.
We had to end up doing a show promotion code so
Right.
that like if like you got a special code that you could enter into the website and
get
that
the
and
same
purchase
deal.
online to get the show pricing and stuff.
Yep.
Just because we could not keep up with it.
Yeah, it was
Like,
crazy.
the demand
So-
was
We got a little bit better supply
Yeah,
for
this time
show,
we were
but
going to bring double, but
we're still
Even
limited
then.
as to what we have. So,
we still got Stu.
yeah.
it's tough to ship out all that stuff, to these things.
Right.
I mean, it costs a lot of money to ship
Yes.
all that product and stuff. So, anyways, Drew, you got anything?
No, just Mike Mason might be out of the drawing now because it does not involve shame and embarrassment like he was hoping for.
You never know. We could put it in there for you.
Yeah, we'll see, Mike.
We could probably get something rolling for Mike.
Absolutely. So,
Well, if you want the shame and the embarrassment, and you win one. You can go put it out in your field, and you can pretend you're a deer, put some fake buck antlers on it, get down on all four, and start rubbing on it.
Yeah,
You,
there
you do
go.
that, well, I'll buy you a vine.
Yeah, send me that video
we'll make
for sure.
we'll make a special promo commercial for it.
There's
Yeah,
that
that-
one TikTok guy. He dresses up as a deer, and he's doing all this weird, crazy stuff.
That
for a
guy's kind of
squirrel.
annoying.
Yeah, but get the deer costume, go out there and do something crazy.
Right.
God, I was banned 2 years ago from TikTok. I would never go on that. I just don't like that.
All right.
The
Twice
age is
banned.
showing, Jay.
Huh?
The age is showing.
Yeah. No,
Today's crowd's all over there.
yeah, they booted me out twice for 2 videos I ever made.
Well, TikTok is really not the place for a lot of the hunting stuff.
Right, I found that
You
out.
got to tread very lightly.
Yeah.
The old
Oh,
tic tac there.
Yeah, I found that out real quick.
But anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode here. Again, we want to thank you guys for following us and sticking with us as always. We appreciate each and every single one of you as followers. I want to thank Jason Schrader and Nick Munding for joining us in studio tonight and our kind of
Thanks
get
for
back
having
in the
us.
groove.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
been a
Anytime,
pleasure.
guys. Love having you guys on the show. And we're going to get back in the groove. We're going to keep pumping out new episodes. We got a lot of guests lined up. We're kind of working through the scheduling of a lot of the guests. We've got a bunch of them lined up for you guys. So stay tuned for that. And make sure you follow our pages so that you know about this giveaway that we're doing with Buckstik.
right.
First and
Don't wanna miss
foremost, make sure that you are following Buckstik on their social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, and that, because those are going to be qualifiers to get in that. And obviously, we're going to check that.
And
that you
people
guys
can
are actually
always
following,
message
so.
me on Facebook if they have questions about
The
it.
Branding Hunter, Munding Outdoors, 100%. So,
You have been enjoying a Midwest Racks and Rods production. I've always wanted to say that at the end of one of these.
great Scott. All right, guys. Until next time, always outdoors.